Whoa, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Synergy Cafe. This is another episode, and I've got a new friend, and his name is Mark. And the last name is Light. See that light behind me? That's not a green screen. That's the real deal. And I'm sure Mark is too. And if he's not, I'm going to pull it out of him. So before I get going, I want to mention if anybody's in the Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities area, I'm doing a presentation. I'm going to bring out some more magical entertainment with my friend Todd. He's a Elvis impersonator and Garth Brooks and Frank Sinatra. And he also does Neil Diamond. And we're doing a tribute to Neil Diamond's new album. And that'll be March 6th. So if you go to magicbrad.com/March 6th, you can get tickets if you are local. But this is a global program, so who knows? So let me go get my friend out of the green room. Again, his name is Mark Light, and I got to find out if that's his real name or if he made it up as a stage name. Mark there. Hey, Mark.
I am here with you, Brad.
Greetings. Let's start with that. Is that your real name, Mark Light?
You know, I never got asked that question until I moved to San Antonio, Texas, about 10 years ago, where I was surrounded by all of these people with these very cool Hispanic names. And I thought that mine was pretty normal. And I got that question a lot down there. It is my born name. Yeah.
Wow,
my real
that's cool. Finally, I'm seeing the light.
Finally, yeah.
Took me 69 years. My God. So the way I do these, I just ask you random questions, like I mentioned in the green room. I really don't set this up with pre-done questions. I like to be random, and the whole idea behind it is to get to know, like, trust, and understand and respect who you are. And the way this works is I record this, and then I chop it into little shorts using a flat software I use called Opus Clip, and I put that up on YouTube. And then I find out which one of these little conversations got the juice, and then that's what I push. So I'm assuming that because the SEO of YouTube got traffic, it would work also with Google because they're brother sister.
Yeah.
So that's my strategy with all this stuff. So let's start out with that and find out, where are you right now? Where do you live?
I am in a northern suburb of Indianapolis, Carmel, Indiana. And yeah. So
is that Carmel like Carmel? Or is that Carmel like in California?
Most people who aren't from here pronounce it Carmel, like California, but it's pronounced here by the locals as Carmel, or as I've referred to it often, Carmel by the interstate.
Okay. So that's kind of fun. You must have been there for a while because you kind of understand the vibe, right?
Yeah, pretty much grew up here. I haven't always lived here. I returned back here a few years ago after my health went south, but lived in San Antonio, Texas, which I absolutely loved and thought I would stay there for the rest of my life. And unfortunately, that wasn't part of the plan.
Got it. That happens.
Yeah.
I bounced back. I'm back in the same place I grew up in. Never expected it. Also at a midlife crisis area. For some reason, we moved to Asheville, North Carolina. I kind of know why, but that's just another story. I could explain that maybe when we get off and everything. But
right.
I never thought I'd live at Asheville, North Carolina. I never knew what the Asheville.
Same way with San Antonio. I when I was 50, I had never been there before, and I'm 51, and I live there, and wondering how I got this far in my life, and finally just discovering where I felt like I always belonged to begin with. So I kind of understand what you're saying there.
You know, that's where some people say you got to create a business plan. And I think a business plan is just good to show the bank, if you're trying to get a loan, that you might kind of know what you're doing. They're willing to lend you the money because they're going to get it back eventually anyways. But life doesn't do it the way you plan, man. There's always stuff that curves. And if you're going the wrong direction, the higher power will put you back in the straight and narrow real quick. So yeah, you had to go to there somewhere for some reason.
Yeah, now you're talking my language there, Brad.
So you married and have kids and stuff like that?
No, I was married for 27 years. I do have the kids. I've got 2 grandkids too. Or depending on how you do, I've got 2 biological grandkids and 2 non-biological grandkids and 2 grown biological daughters and 1 non-biological. So it depends on how you're counting. I've got somewhere between 2 or 3 kids and 2 to 4 grandkids.
Bob Marley said 1 blood.
That's right.
It's just the way it works.
Yeah.
So you are a consultant and a coach. Now, there's a lot of different types of coaches. My wife is a coach. She was a Spanish teacher, and then she got into coaching, and she kind of went into the lifestyle coaching and spiritual element of things. And then it kind of got into more business coaching, helping people through that as she excelled. What kind of coach are you?
Yeah, so I am what I would refer to as a soft skills coach. And the two specific, when I talk about soft skills, I'm talking about those things like leadership and communication and things like that. The two areas or the two soft skills that I coach on are, one is sales training, and secondly, the soft skill of resilience. And really, when I say sales training, it's sales resilience training, because as far as professional subsets of the professional world, I don't know of another profession that requires resilience more than that of entrepreneurs and salespeople, which
Yeah,
we're
you
kind of
got a
saying
more
there.
thick-skinned.
Thick skin, maybe. Although I don't know how many of us humans really are as thick skinned as we wish we could. We wish, or we'd like to say we are.
Well, I had
Uh,
a business partner. He didn't give a damn what he said. He was good at sales because he didn't care what he said,
and there is
and he just
something to
went
be.
forward.
Yeah, there is something to be said for that. When I think of resilience, though, and I do think that being thick-skinned, that is a quality that can be developed. I've certainly developed it over time, and I'm pretty thick-skinned at this point. But when I say resilience, mainly what I'm thinking of are the qualities or the skill of having a track and staying on track, because sales and entrepreneurism will knock you off of your game pretty quickly,
In a
especially
minute.
when you're not thick-skinned. And it's how do you get back to baseline, and taking it outside of sales, just life will knock you down. Life is going to throw a lot of adversity at you. And one of the things I've learned over time, and I've gotten pretty good at this, what is the skill of not getting through the difficulty. That's what I call perseverance. What I'm talking about is getting through the adversity or the difficulty, whether we're talking about sales or just life. And that's to get back to baseline or better, to not just get through and to baseline, but ideally grow from the negative experience or the difficult experience.
Well, see, I can already tell that you kind of been there, done that, and then you get to share that. And like, you know, when coaching started coming out, I knew a couple coaches, but now it seems like everybody's a coach. All of a sudden, they
Yeah.
just, gee, I got this. I'm on an MLM, and we got this vitamin. I'm a health coach.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas with coaching for me, I'm sort of uncoachable because of my magic background. I can kind of see what they're doing when they start questioning me about stuff. So my
Right.
subconscious starts fighting it.
I,
It's like
I'm kind of
unfair.
like that, Brad, myself. Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed we've had a lot of similarities.
Yes.
But I'm a big advocate of coaches because they can call you on your bullshit and if they know how to get you back on that track, all of a sudden you have that aha moment. So that's where it's really invaluable to have someone that, because you don't see it yourself. You think
No,
I can see what I'm doing.
I coach, and even in the areas that I coach, I have to realize that I've got blind spots of my own, and part of that becomes, I'm reasonably self-aware, and I become much more aware of my own blind spots when I'm coaching others on their own. But you hit the nail on the head. To me, what coaching, when you boil it right down, is, yeah, you hang out a shingle and say you're a coach, and you are one in this day and age, especially. But if you can call somebody on their BS, that's what real coaching is.
Well, a lot of people that you're like your students or your clients or whatever, sometimes or oftentimes they don't even know that they're avoiding an issue. Like a quick situation share with, and I share with a lot of people, is I had this avoidance or not avoidance, abandonment issue.
Hmm.
And I knew I had it because I was with my wife and she's going to go out with the girls, and I'm thinking, well, now I got to stay home by myself. I get a little whiny.
Hmm.
Now, what the hell's that? And I went and had some work with a coach, and he did breath work sessions and stuff. One of the sessions, we were talking about stuff for this abandonment feeling. And I came out of the session craving chocolate, crazy craving for chocolate. And I stopped
Really.
at the store and I bought a big 6-pack of Nut Goody candy bars. So I liked them when I was a kid. I
Mm-hmm.
ate 4 of them on the way home. The next session, what we found out was the abandonment issue was when I was a little kid, mom and dad, alcoholic, going to the bar, having a good time, come home and they'd reward Bradley with a Nut Goody candy bar.
Very interesting.
It was.
Yeah.
And then, because when they were passed, so I couldn't talk with them about it. So I had to go to Fort Snelling in Minneapolis here and sit by the gravestone and talk with my mom and dad and God, and kind of forgave them and realized that all they're doing is going out and having a good time. They didn't know that they were leaving a little kid in the dark by himself, that's probably scared to death.
Isn't that amazing how that works? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So once that's done, that issue is gone. So a coach like yourself can find that out, put that in front of someone, and the light goes on, all of a sudden the issue is gone. And it's not just gone in one spot, it's gone in everywhere. So there's no abandonment issues for me anymore, whether it be my wife or friends or anything. I don't care.
Well, I don't, in my case, I think, and this may come off like I'm sounding devil's advocate with you, Brad, but I agree with the essence of what you're saying. But what I'll submit is this, and I'll use myself as sort of an example, just similar to the one you just used. I've got a coach of my own that is coaching me on some things. And we were talking the other day, I guess, to cut to the chase here, back up and finish one thought. I don't know if sometimes our fears or some of our blind spots are ever fully gone, but they don't usually survive well in the light of day. And I think that's what good coaching will do, is help people become self-aware of these things and then develop the skills to deal with them. Because in my case, with all of the life experiences I've had, the difficulties I've faced and that type of thing, I really thought I was the person who didn't have any more fear of anything out there. I certainly don't fear death. I don't fear pain anymore. Just all these things. And I had to start realizing, wait a minute, I'm doing a bunch of things that are new to me right now, business-wise, and perfectionism and analysis paralysis and overthinking. These are things that I'm very susceptible and prone to. And what they are is they're just tiny little fears that I have. And it was a startling, self-revelation that, God, I thought I had already gotten past all of the fear that life could possibly present to me. And I find out, no, I'm just as susceptible as I ever was. So it's one of those things. But I think that to your point, being aware of what just having self-awareness on these things is critical, a critical, huge step to dealing with them properly and overcoming them.
Yeah, it's kind of like using an analogy like my magic background. If I take it and I take a coin, I put it in my other hand and I squeeze and it disappears, you think, oh my God, the coin disappeared. But that's not at all what happened.
Yeah.
So from one person's point of view, my God, how did he do that? Where did it go? How could he hide it? But from another person's point of view is, no, you just kind of flipped it up his sleeve. No big deal. So that's what happened with my mom and dad. They were going out having a good date night. I was at home scared shitless.
Yeah.
When you realize those two things are not the same, but it was the exact same situation. And then that is that awakening. So I think it's very important that someone like you can see that stuff.
Perspective is huge when it comes to a lot of things in life.
So who's your ideal client? Who do you do your work with? Is it male, female, older, younger?
Yeah, gender and age really don't matter to me. In fact, there isn't much when it comes down to, when you really get down to it, there's not much that matters to me as far as demographics and that type of thing. That said, what I would say is that who I target most things that I do are to, as I mentioned earlier, the demographic of salespeople. That's the profession that I have spent in a couple of different industries. I've spent my entire adult life in. I was a sales trainer for a very large worldwide sales training organization. I wrote my book, Rock Bottom to Resilience, a couple of years ago. With really, in a perfect world, it was, I think anybody can read and get value out of what it is that I wrote and what it is that I coach on. But it's mostly geared, even the book, toward sales professionals.
So when you say salespeople, because I'm a marketer kind of person, when I started doing my magic, my focus, I could do magic for kids or whatever, but I focused on corporate. And so that was my micro niche kind of thing. So do you find yourself working with salespeople in any specific industry, whether it be like race cars or something, because you're out there? Or...
That would be nice. That would be really, really cool to do that.
Well, think about sponsorship. We were talking earlier about some common magicians that we know. There's a guy, Claude Haggerty. He teaches people how to find sponsorship for racing, racer cars.
Does he live in Indianapolis? Because this is where you want to live. If that
he lives in Canada, but I'm saying that would be an interesting niche for you to target. Would be salespeople that are trying to sell sponsorships to.
That would fit right here with where I am geographically, for sure. No, I don't have a specific niche. I've worked with people, from everywhere from the roofing industry to finance, where I've spent most of my adult life as a financial advisor, and that's where I learned most of what I know about sales, but not all. I simply would say that, and it's not just. I'm saying this because I'm a little bit fearful of getting pigeonholed as only a sales guy, and that's not what I want to do. But that is the niche that I think that fits me the best overall. The only thing that I would say is that if they earn their living in sales, which, you know what, Brad, when you get right down to it, who doesn't earn their living through sales? Right. We're all salespeople on some level when you get right down to it. Even to be in a close relationship, non-business, just friendship, requires a certain level of sales and that type of thing. But yeah, I'm not industry specific. And if I'm talking to somebody specifically, say about sales training, I'm pretty quick to say that if there's a situation, which there are a few where I get to go, what my knowledge and background, which is fairly vast after 35 years. If I just say, look, I'm not a good fit, I'm going to say that pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. That's the way to do it. Why waste time,
Right.
So how do people get a hold of you? I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I was just kind of curious because I didn't see a website for you.
Yeah, well, it is. There is a website. And maybe the reason you didn't see it is because it's down right now with some technical issues. That, as a matter of fact, right before I jumped on the call with you, I was working with technical tech support people from two different organizations. You know how that can be sometimes.
Yeah.
And this has been an ongoing thing. But marklightgroup.com is my web address. And of course, you can find me on social media, LinkedIn. Just plug my name in, Mark Light, and you'll see a mug pretty close to this. Let
me see if I can do something here.
Okay.
Stand by, folks. I'm doing something. Mark Light Group. Like that?
That would be it. Yeah.
Yay! That's how you find them when the website gets back up and
running. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we've resolved the tech issues, and it's only a matter of hours before that's back up and live, and it's still being built out. The website is, I mean.
Well, it's good to know, have people get a hold of you.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's the funny thing about the internet stuff is. I don't know, why do we fly in an airplane when it's hooked up to the internet? It's dangerous.
Very much so, yeah. We live and die by our technology, don't we?
Seems like it. There's part of times I just like to take this thing and throw it out the window,
But good luck living without it in this day and age, right?
I know. You'd have to knock on a door and you might get shot doing that.
Right.
Let's see, what other questions should I ask you? The reason I mentioned the niche is because, like, here's a quick story. I had a friend that was a photographer, and he did portrait stuff and pets and landscape and weddings, and he did glamour photography. And there's a corporate thing that came in, glamour shots, and kind of blew him out of the water. All of a sudden he's looking for a new niche. What he ended up doing was he loves the Hmong community. Are you familiar with the Hmong?
Hmong?
Hmong.
No, I've never even heard of that I recall anyway.
It's like Vietnam area.
Okay.
And there's a whole bunch of them in St. Paul. St. Paul, which is the sister city to Minneapolis, the Twin Cities. There's a lot of Hmong people here, more than any place else in the country. And he loves the Hmong culture. So he decided to Hmong weddings. So now everybody knows him as the Hmong wedding photographer. So he sponsors their New Year's Eve celebration every year. And he's known as the guy to go. If you're getting married, talk to Alan Forrest. And he took other stuff. Sure, he'd take a picture of your dog or do your senior photograph or whatever, or family stuff. But he was known as, and that way, that's how his business worked, is he just had referrals. Got to talk to Alan.
Well, they say that the riches are in the niches. I just have not niched down that far.
I know exactly where you're coming from, because I can't do it either. You can't pin me nowhere.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. Try to nail Jello to a tree. That's what
my brain just, you got that, like all of a sudden you see an idea and that's where it goes. I'm always derailed.
One of my great Achilles heels is the squirrel thing, ADHD.
Yeah.
I tend to, I've been prone to drown in opportunity, which is another way I articulate that very same thing, is I get shiny object syndrome very easily. And
it is. And that's kind of why I do this podcast thing the way I do, because some people say, who's your audience? To me, I don't have one. I'm doing this for you. And that's why I do it that way, to find out. You put the stuff on the internet and they'll find you just through the keywords that we're speaking right now. If someone's in the Indianapolis area, they'll figure it out and go, oh my God, I know Mark. I grew up with him. He was in high school together. And they'll reconnect.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead of trying to force it down people's throats, I wait for the internet to come and find it.
The internet's a beautiful thing that way, isn't it?
It is. So do you just do in-person stuff, or you do online coaching?
I'll do it any way possible. Online. I'm not geographically focused, although, I do tend to do most of my network. Well, obviously, live networking is done right here in the Indy area, where most of my connections and lifelong friends and family all live. So there's that. But when it comes to getting my word out there and my message out there, I'm not tied to anything. And with the beautiful, whether in this case StreamYard, or Zoom or Google Meets or whatever, I can do that pretty much anywhere. I am old school, though, in the sense that I do like to do it wherever possible, face to face.
So then you also do groups? To do group coaching?
Can definitely do groups of pretty much any size.
Here's my next question. I wonder, do you ever do something like a retreat?
I have not done a retreat, and I guess it depends on exactly what you mean by a retreat. Sort of like a multi-day breakout session is what comes to my mind, and I don't know if that's what you're.
Kind of. Some people do retreats, and they're not really retreats. They just they're sort of like just a getting out of the house kind of thing, and that too. Yeah. But I like to get in a whole nother environment that you like, leave the phone at home or in your room, and get in a whole nother environment that makes you reset. And now you're ready to learn something new, because there's nothing old to think about. So that's what I think a retreat, like doing it somewhere in Bali or Costa Rica or on a cruise ship or something in a whole new space.
I love the exoticness of the idea as much as anything there.
We should talk about that. I would love to be able to help. I got a buddy that's got 15 acres in Costa Rica, and he has multiple properties out there. And he did a writer's retreat out there. And then we were doing a photographer's retreat once. They just get a bunch of people of like mind to get in the same room and have someone facilitate it, which would be you. And
well, thank you, Brad. I appreciate you gave me another squirrel to chase here. Just what I needed, another idea to chase.
Well, sometimes that makes a lot of.
It makes a
Sometimes these
ton of
squirrels have
sense.
deep pockets though, because people are willing to travel somewhere exotic to get out. Like I did a, are you familiar? Do you know what ayahuasca is?
That is very familiar. I
It's a
Help me out.
hallucinogenic psychos drug that's made out
Okay.
of bark and roots from Peru.
Okay.
And it puts you into I did one and it was expensive. It
Okay.
was, what the hell was it? It was like 6 grand or something like that.
And this
So
was this a retreat that centered
yes,
around this, or
it
okay?
was at a resort in Costa Rica.
Oh, very
A
cool.
very nice retreat. It was one of these all inclusive things. So
Okay.
all your food is there. They pick you up at the airport and all that stuff. But it's a psychedelic drug, not not a
Okay.
not a prescription type drug. It's a natural type thing. When it supposedly what it does is it opens up your mind, and it
I
does.
wonder if that's what there's these I've heard about them. In fact, a guy that I'm acquainted with was talking about going out to California to one of these. I don't know whether you call it a camp or something where they gave them a drug that did kind of what you're describing there, and I wonder if that's what that was.
It's possible that is what it was, is what it is, but there's legalities with it because it is a psychedelic, and they have to go under the guise of religion. So they create churches.
Okay, yeah,
That's how they do it, but it's still illegal in the United States. That's why people go to Peru or
okay,
Costa Rica. In fact,
yeah,
even Costa Rica has a neat way of doing it. The way they do it is the retreat costs this much, and then there's an extra fee, which is cash, that's paid to someone from the outside that comes in, a Costa Rican resident. So that's how they do it, so that it doesn't get into the legal issues of things. But the place I'm talking about is called Rhythmia, and they're very well known and they're recognized globally as a legitimate health. It's not a hut with a dirt floor.
right,
It's a very nice facility.
very interesting.
So, anyways, that's what a retreat is. I mean, a retreat can be anything where you just kind of get out. There might be a men's retreat, or yoga retreats. They do that, and it's just like-minded people.
No,
So
I
if you
love
want
the
to
idea.
do a sales retreat, how to increase your sales by getting into the wilderness.
Clearing the mind and yeah, I love the idea. I mean, from that point of view, I guess I've done 1 day sales retreats, but not in an exotic location. They were,
Mhm.
close to home and but for like a corporate meeting where it was an all day type of
Yeah,
a
to me, it would
breakdown.
be like more of a seminar, I think, if it's kind of local and you can get on the freeway and go back home. But
Yeah.
when you retreat, you're kind of like out there and you're in it. You
Yeah.
might as well stick
Yes.
around. Times are gonna get tough. You might shed a few tears, but guess what? You got to stay here. You
Yeah.
can
No.
leave if you want
Very,
to.
very good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like Scientology or anything. Let's see, what else should I? How long we've gone for? Almost a half an hour. So let's kind of wrap it up. I don't like to do them too long, but
Okay.
is there anything else you want to share to close it off?
Well, yeah, I guess I'll talk a little bit about just for a second or two about my background and what qualifies me to talk about resilience. I mean, obviously, being a 35-year salesperson and or sales representative in various industries and a former sales trainer for a multinational sales training company, that's the sales training part of things. I was never what I would call a resilient person. In fact, the introduction to my book is my journey is entitled "My Journey in and Out of Being a Whiny." I think a negative whiny bitch is exactly how that's worded, because for the first 40 years of my life, that's exactly how I would have described myself. I was very easily knocked off track by any adversity. I was caught up in what I'll call victimhood mentality and just a lot of things I can say. Sounds like there's also some similarities between your upbringing and my upbringing, although a lot of the details are different. But what ended up happening just about almost 25 years ago, I was stricken by just out of the blue by pancreatitis. And that's a very deadly, very, very painful disease, and more deadly than most forms of cancer. And I had an on again, off again 13-year battle with pancreatitis, and it came very close to killing me on at least 3 different occasions. Then I had bacterial meningitis that mixed in there. And then most recently was diagnosed just over 3.5 years ago with stage 4 cancer. And somehow I kept surviving all of these things. You know, as my younger daughter points out, if I was a cat, I'd be on life number 27 by now. So I'm not sure if I'm ever going to die. But what I started realizing was that I was getting through these major life setbacks, and health is far from the only setbacks I'd experienced in life. But I started realizing I'm actually very, very effective. In fact, I took a couple of years ago, there's an assessment that's done by the very same people who do these emotional intelligence assessments. And I took an assessment, and they thought I cheated on it because I scored so high on what's called the hardiness resilience gauge, which is an objective assessment to see, do you have a very resilient mindset? And it turned out I did. And I started doing a lot of self-reflection about how did I make the transformation, because it wasn't an intentional thing. And that's where the book came from, and where the business. And I started realizing I had really, resilience is an acquired skill. It's not something that people are necessarily born with, and it can be acquired over time. And anyway, I did a lot of self-reflection about what caused me to go from the negative whiny bitch that I was for the first 2/3 of, now at this point, the first 2/3 of my life, to the last 20 years being somebody that seems to weather some major storms in life. And by the way, I am cancer free as of about 2 months ago, but when it hits stage 4, thank you very much. Once it hits stage 4, it's with you for life. So I'm knocking on wood, I'll get scanned next week, and hopefully that comes out. But that's where really I started realizing that I had developed a pretty strong resilience muscle and a skill of resilience, and had developed the ability to transfer that skill, break it down, and say, okay, what are the things that I did, and how can I teach somebody to be intentional about developing resilience? Because like you said early in this cast here, that life doesn't throw things at you according to a neat little expected pattern. It's life comes at you and hits you when you least expect it, in the ways you never planned for. And so it's a critical life skill that I think everybody should have, and certainly everybody can benefit from.
Deep. I totally get it. The whole resilience, you can kind of learn resilience by building a muscle for it, and like living up to a pain threshold. You can start, that don't bother me no more.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, this has been really fun.
Likewise.
We vibe together, I think. I'm going to put you into the green room. If you want to stick around, we can have some more conversation.
Yeah, sounds good.
Close it off. We've gone for 33 minutes. Woo!
Well, thank you for having me, Brad.
Well, thank you. Maybe we do it again on another topic or similar. We'll talk about a retreat in Costa Rica.
Anytime.
Take care, bud.
All right.
There you have it. My new friend, Mark Light. That's his real name. And you've been watching Synergy Cafe. This will be up on YouTube indefinitely, and it's also on LinkedIn and Facebook. If you want to know more about me, just Google the keyword MagicBrad. It's right here. And you'll find the good, the bad, and the ugly. So peace, love, and happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice. Did I say be nice? Yes, I did. Be nice.